Welcome to Bunker Gaming, this is Matt. So today I wanted to talk about playing the objective, or as it's otherwise known, PTFO. This is a term that's used regularly in multiplayer games these days. And it can range from anything from capturing a point, a flag, moving or planting bombs, or killing a certain amount of people in a round. And there's many other types of game modes available. But you find these days that these game modes are being pushed more and more by the developers and by the games themselves. But there seems to be a decline in people playing objectively. So what is causing this decline? I think some of this decline can be immediately tied back to YouTube, with YouTube becoming a prominent way for commentators and people to show off their styles and gameplays and the way they achieve certain things within a game. People watch this and try to emulate this. Their fans will go out and try to achieve the same things that their favorite commentators did within their videos. But this causes an issue because while they try to achieve this, they are taking away from the objective themselves that they should be playing. They will use these matches to do absolutely ridiculous things, from 360 no-scope montages to other things, instead of actually playing the game as it should be played. And this detracts away from the game not only from themselves but for their teammates around them. Another area is also the game developers themselves, and they've contributed to this with overloading the game with a lot of bloat. And what do I mean by bloat? Well, that can be putting in unnecessary weapons or gadgets that can sometimes really frustrate players, and a lot of the times doesn't add to the game but detracts from it. And as such, a lot of players get frustrated with the fact that players will gravitate to these easy kill weapons or weapons that they know will frustrate people to get a way of enjoyment out of it, or to frustrate other players. But probably the worst one of all that I've seen is when games started to focus more on kill death. It became less favourable to play the objective because it wasn't fashionable, or wasn't in their mind satisfactory enough to die multiple times to take an objective, when they can sit back and, as people like to say, pad their stats and have this brilliant kill death ratio. I mean, the prospect of throwing yourself an objective to die time after time is not what these players want. They want to focus on one lone statistic instead of winning the game itself. And this can be extremely frustrating for the people around them, and for themselves too, because they know that if they play objectively, they're not going to get that statistic that they want. So they lose interest. So for them, sitting back and allowing others to do the work and rack up the kill after kill gives them some sense of accomplishment. But in a sense, they're really giving up because they're not playing the game as it should be. But it also unfortunately causes a lot of frustration for their fellow teammates, who are sometimes taking the objective on their own and getting no help whatsoever. So how does this affect the player base itself? Well, there's 3 classifications of players, and depending on their classification, it will usually give you an idea of how much they will play a game objectively. Newer players usually have very little experience in the game themselves and just learning how to play. Depending on what happens, some of them can be very objective, but a lot of the times they don't understand what's happening, and until they get an understanding, they usually won't be as helpful in taking objectives. We have the casual players. They play infrequently with friends. They have a fair idea what's happening in the game, but not necessarily focused on the core gameplay itself. For these players, most of the time it's about having fun and enjoying themselves. Sometimes they can be extremely helpful, other times not necessarily so. And a lot of the casual players is probably where it falls to this mismatch of whether you're going to get somebody who helps you, or whether you may get somebody who doesn't necessarily care about what's going on in the game and may be focused on something for themselves. Then you have the veteran players. These guys are extremely serious about games, and they are very experienced about knowing what the objective is and taking the objective. these guys have been playing games for a very long time and very quick to understand what needs to be done and how to do it very efficiently. They take a lot of time. So you're probably asking, what can be done to try and resolve a lot of these problems? Well, I think gaming developers could take a more active role in being or outlining the objective to newer players, or showing them what needs to be done to give them a bit of an idea. I think also game developers also need to take more of a role in considering what a weapon or a gadget and how it's implemented into the game. What do I mean by this? If they're going to put 10,000 explosive weapons in the game, make them effective, or really consider how it's going to affect the player base before you just stick in some weapon. They also need to create a way to reward people who play objectively. Now, some of the more, off the wall ones is the removal of the kill death statistic from objective gameplay completely, so that players don't think, that's all I've got to focus on. Another counter argument is also completely remove all statistics from the game and just have the win-loss. So all that the players are focusing on is the actual win-loss. But I also think it's extremely important for the veteran or more experienced players to take a lot of these newer and casual players underneath their wing and to lead by example and show them how to do this and how they can become more objective players and help their teams. Because I think once that happens, players will be more happy, more excited, and the game will be more fun too. It won't be these one-sided games that you get where you're thrown into a team where nothing's happening and you're the only one pushing an objective. So give me your thoughts and feelings about this. And I want to say thank you for taking the time to come and listen to my video, and I will talk to you later. Thank you.